Welcome back, you scruffy-headed nerd herders, to our Super Bowl edition. Crazy game, or not so crazy, depending on what fan you were. Snooze fest. But let's break it down. Pat, let's start with you. Your thoughts on the Super Bowl?
It went exactly the way I was expecting it to. You cannot beat the GOAT. I got to say, Mahomes is ridiculously overrated. He always has been. I am glad that he got his ass kicked, to be completely honest, just because I am so tired of everyone just thinking he's like the next coming of like the greatest quarterback of all time when you still have Tom Brady ready to go. If anyone still is talking shit about him, the dude is the best. And honestly, I think he's going to get another one. Maybe not next year, but he's going to get another one. The dude is unreal.
Yeah, agreed. He's chugging along. He even said he's not going to retire. And watching him play tonight, why would he? Like, he's not old. We're old. Yeah. That's how I felt. Like, his response to that shit. Like, don't tell me that shit. Because, like, he's obviously still in his prime. And his team just hit everything on all cylinders. And honestly, Kansas City looks sick. Mm-hmm. Like, Patrick Mahomes, I don't know, like, he looked like sickly. Like, I think he got coronavirus.
He looked very pale. He looked exhausted.
I felt like he was moving well, though, in the pocket.
He was moving well.
I mean, he was moving perfectly fine. It's just the fact they didn't have their two starting tackles. The dude was under pressure the entire time. And there's nothing he could do. He was running the entire game.
Yeah, their corners and their DNs were like filthy, dude. They were putting so much pressure on him, and they were covering Tyreek Hill like I've never seen before. He was quiet the whole game.
Yeah.
I felt like the whole weight of the game was on Mahomes and Kelsey. Kelsey did the best he could with what he was given, but it just wasn't enough.
And Tyreek Hill was pretty quiet. I mean, he had some moments, but not like we saw for most of the season.
It was all the dink and dunk stuff.
Yeah.
There was nothing. They weren't stretching the field at all, and I think it's just Mahomes didn't have the time to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Tampa's defense just went after them, and like
absolutely
the story, like that's what happened. What we saw Kansas City do to the Bills is what we saw Tampa do to the Chiefs.
Yeah,
they just destroyed them.
And honestly, the whole time I was thinking, like, I feel the Bills would have put up a better fight than Kansas City at that point. Like, I was expecting a comeback, at least in the second half, but nothing. They were just defeated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for at least a battle of the quarterbacks like everybody was hoping for. You know, Patrick Mahomes, he can make plays. He can make plays that we haven't seen possibly ever in the NFL, and that's what I was hoping to see on both sides of the ball, but Kansas City just didn't seem ready to play at all, so it's disappointing, but like you said, Patrick, Brady's the GOAT. Any argument against that is invalid.
And even more so than Brady, I love seeing the Bash brothers back together, dude. Rob, like, he was killing it, man. 2 touchdowns today. And we saw Antonio Brown make his comeback. Like,
I could care less about Antonio Brown.
I don't really give a shit about Antonio Brown either. But I'm like, it's crazy to see like the year that he's had, and like, oh shit, he just scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
he's come a long way since entering training camp on a hot air balloon.
Yeah. I bet the Raiders are pissed off now.
Yeah.
Just seeing Rob Gronkowski get into his full Thad Castle mode was great, man. It was awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about the trophy presentation for a second. So David and I were talking about this before we went on air. And one thing that has always bothered me with the NFL trophy presentation is that they always hand it to the owners first. It should be given to the coach and the players first. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that did the work. The owners just paid for everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like the NFL needs to start following the lead of like the NBA and the NHL, where they give it to the players first and the players speak on it, because like they did the work, and the fact that we're still doing this is just, it's getting old. And
more importantly, yes, the players should get that first, but the coaches, man.
Yeah.
Like, why wasn't Bruce Arians given that trophy to talk about his accomplishment, but we're giving it to the GMs who literally just sit there. They were sweating, and literally all they did was walk downstairs to talk.
Yeah,
Like,
they should be the
it was
last
ridiculous.
to talk, or like fourth or fifth.
Yeah, man.
It should be the coach, in this case Brady, Gronk, Evans, right? Mike Evans.
Yeah.
And then GM, owner.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just something I think the NFL needs to start thinking about. Obviously, what makes the Super Bowl, besides the game itself, are the ads. And this year, the ads were a stinker.
You
we
know,
didn't get much.
that's you guys. I enjoyed quite a few of them.
I was just disappointed in the lack of, and I know we were all talking about this in a text message, the lack of movie trailers. And I know, Patrick, you had mentioned, you know, the theater or the movie companies are afraid to bank on that because, you know, it's what, $1 million per spot?
Yeah, at least.
But you would think companies like Warner Brothers, AT&T, who owns Warner Brothers and HBO Max, correct?
Yeah.
Like that they would buy the spot for at least one movie coming up, and they didn't do that, obviously. So we got no Mortal Kombat, we got no Matrix, nothing Star Wars related.
We got one Marvel.
Yeah, we got
Disney
the Falcon and Winter Soldier, which we'll talk about in a second.
Which isn't even a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TV show.
But it was the most exciting trailer, arguably. And then we got a brief teaser of M. Night Shyamalan's Old, which looks like a mixture between Survivor and Midsommar. And then we got Coming to America teaser as well, which looks...
Dude, how do you make that movie PG-13?
Yeah,
that is what stuck out with me. That was I thought it was going to be R. I thought they were going to lean into the whole, like, you know, old school Eddie from the 80s when the first one came out. And then I feel like they just snuck in rated PG-13 at the very end. I feel like they didn't even announce that yet. I'm not even going to watch it.
Yeah.
and not only that, like, what's with us doing these comedy sequels 10 to 20 years later, because they haven't worked. Zoolander 2 was awful. The first hour of Anchorman 2, okay, that's all right. The rest of it is hot garbage.
Don't even get me started on Dumb and Dumber.
Now we got Coming to America, which came out in the 80s, like mid 80s. And this is like 35 years later, we're making a sequel. I'm at a loss for words. I don't know. It looks awful. I mean, I'm all about an Eddie Murphy resurrection for his career, but I don't know. That looks like a rough ride.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We're going to get Daddy Daycare 3.
Yeah.
My favorite trailer that popped up today was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah. That was refreshing and definitely anticipated. That Old movie by M. Night Shyamalan was definitely intriguing. But at the same time, I'm ready to be Charlie Brown by his ass one more time.
The thing that's got me the most excited for that movie is not just the fact that it's M. Night Shyamalan, just because I know that he does have a hit and a miss pretty much like one for one, but it's more so the cast, because you've got Alex Wolff in there from Hereditary, who, I mean, you put them into anything horror and I feel like the dude is he's good in it. And then you've got Gael Garcia Bernal, who, I mean, he does a lot of great indie movies from Spain. And also, personally, I loved him a lot in the show Mozart in the Jungle, which I know came back with a couple of Emmys. So the cast has got me more so jazzed than anything else. And I just know there's going to be a twist. I mean, it wouldn't be M. Night without it. So
let's talk more about Falcon and Winter Soldier.
The thing that I took away from what I did see from that trailer, it almost feels like a buddy cop comedy type feel to it. I mean, I'm all on board for that, just because I feel like we're kind of seeing Winter Soldier kind of feeling more like a normal human again, more so than someone that, you know, he was made into a super weapon, like essentially Terminator. So he's getting his humanity back. And I feel like we're going to see that in this show.
I think this show is going to be an origin of Falcon becoming the new Captain America. I think that's how the show is going to end. Based on the teaser and the full length, it kind of gives a brief glimpse of him trying to hold on to that reputation that Captain America had with the shield and his responsibility. And I think there's going to be a little bit of a conflict that maybe Bucky gets a little jealous that he was given the shield, and and so maybe we'll see some of that.
Honestly, I'm excited for it. Just like you said, the buddy cop aspect of it. I've always loved their banter together and how they have a love-hate relationship in the MCU. So I think that's going to be better to explore. And My number one prediction, I just feel it, especially with the direction the MCU is going. I'm predicting a major character death. Only one of them might survive at the end of this series to really give that mantle of Captain America.
Yeah.
So I think this would be interesting. They've been throwing a lot of curveballs at us. Obviously, they're making room for like new Avengers and the new Phase 5 and future stuff. So I think we're going to start to see these characters that we've been watching for the last 10 years plus start to die out.
Imagine it would be possibly Sebastian Stan. So then now we start with get him played. Just saying.
That would be great.
Yeah, you know.
Disney has other plans for this one.
So it comes out March 19th, so that's just around the corner. So about maybe 2 or 3 weeks after WandaVision is finished. So that'll be a good follow-up after WandaVision, just to keep going. And Disney, damn you Disney for making us hold on to our Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
At least I'm getting my money's worth now, unlike last year.
Yeah.
Although I did start watching Boy Meets World again on it. I forgot how good it was.
The other thing that makes the Super Bowl is the halftime show. The Weeknd was advertised endlessly as the halftime talent. David, we'll start with you. What did you think of the halftime show? Because you were complaining to me how much you were tired of seeing the Weeknd.
To be honest, up until this point for the Super Bowl happening, I was so irritated and ready for the halftime performance to be over so I didn't have to hear that goddamn song again and all the commercials. I just wanted it to be done. So I had very low expectations. I'm a fan of the old Weeknd, like before the trilogy, like when he had his 3 records that came out, like before people really knew him. So I love old Weeknd. I'm not really a fan of the new stuff he does now, but altogether, I thought the performance was better than I expected. Like it wasn't terrible. I like the set pieces that they did. The choreography was cool, and I thought he sang pretty well for the discography that he has. So it could have been a lot worse. I give it like a 7 out of 10 because I was expecting a 3.
Oh boy. Look, normally I don't mind the Weeknd. Like the dude makes hits, and I'm totally cool with that. Mainly, I'm a guy that's into not so much mainstream hip hop and like metal and stuff like that. So the Weeknd this performance just made me angry.
What do you mean?
It made me angry because we're in a time of coronavirus and the dude's got 250 dancers around him, which is honestly, it's not necessary right now. Like, we're trying to do our part here. And you know what? That's what I thought at first too. Like, yeah, the sure there's masks, but then, I mean, there were times where they were not masked. And like, I mean, I get it. Like, it's a performance, but it didn't sit well with me at all. The performance itself, I feel like for the Super Bowl, you can't have a guy that just like is known for singing, which is what he does, and making beats. You need someone that can actually dance, or you need someone that is like part of a true rock band. Like
Prince.
You had yeah, exactly. You had like Prince or the Chili Peppers with Bruno Mars, or you had Beyonce or J-Lo and Shakira last year. Like they're all like performers that can put on a show with just themselves, whereas The Weeknd was relying on everything that was going on around him. And honestly, I was just bored, and it was a waste of his own $7 million.
Funded by Pepsi, but all his songs are about Coke.
For me, it was a halftime show. I've never cared about the halftime shows. It's just part of the spectacle of the Super Bowl. I'm not familiar with The Weeknd all that much. For our listeners who don't know, out of all 3 of us, I'm probably the metalhead of all metalheads. It's about 95% of what I listen to. So I didn't really know who The Weeknd was. I knew him by name, but I didn't really know who he was until that like 80s pop song he released came out, which he closed the show with. But I mean, it was fine. I mean, it was Watchmen the musical until they get like Metallica or Judas Priest. I don't care.
Yeah. You know what was great about it? The memes that are coming out of him being in that little like the Funhouse mirror area. The memes coming out of that are just absolute gold.
So let's talk about some of the events of the Super Bowl. So obviously we saw a fan running on the field. They couldn't show it on TV because he was running in the thong.
Oh shit.
But somebody captured it on their camera and it's all over the internet now. So that was an entertaining moment, probably the most entertaining moment of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
For us, David and I, and the people we watched it with, right when the Super Bowl started, CBS app crashed.
Fuck you, CBS.
We were in a frantic state of trying to get the game on.
Literally had to watch 2 hours of bullshit analysts talking out their ass about football. All the predictions were wrong anyway. And then a minute before the game starts, it fucking blacks out.
Yes.
Like we literally lost connection, and then we start reading Twitter, and literally everyone's like, "Oh, they fucking shit the bed." Like, oh shit, someone definitely got fired. So fuck you, CBS. Don't ever host a Super Bowl again. Just leave it with ESPN.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hulu.
There's a plug.
Hey, we've got to get those sponsorships.
Oh, yeah.
So let's circle back to the ads. So some of the ads that were highlights for David and I was the Will Ferrell one. That was
Yes,
great.
absolutely.
Will Ferrell.
Classic Will Ferrell, man.
I would love to see that commercial as a movie. So Will Ferrell. You know,
Yeah, man.
the Bud Light Post Malone one was pretty funny. How they killed Mr. Bud Light and they just said, "Fuck you, we're leaving."
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty great. The Tracy Morgan one was great until it was kind of fucked up where they were going to show him about the crash of car and he almost died in a car crash. I thought that was a little in poor taste.
Yeah, and then you had that little feature from Dave Bautista, which was hilarious. So I thought that was a pretty funny commercial.
And then we had Beavis and Butthead laughing about cracks.
Oh yeah, classic Beavis and Butthead.
Cracks.
And then my favorite one for sure was Wayne's World going back, and then they had the addition of Cardi B. I thought it was pretty funny.
You know what I liked about that one specifically was just the fact that it seems like Myers and Carvey are starting to put their like little beef that they had behind them.
Yeah. Wayne's World 3. Make it about musicians.
Yes. I want to see them go from the television show to converting to a podcast.
Absolutely. See them in the age of YouTube. I do have to say, I think my number one commercial, it was the Will Ferrell one until the fourth quarter. And when Amazon dropped that Alexa commercial with Michael B. Jordan as Alexa, I think that is my number one. Just because I do love me some Michael B. Jordan. He is a beefcake, as we say.
Beefcake.
And I just thought it was so well done. And they even dropped in a pretty intense sexual innuendo for primetime TV.
Ooh.
Very scandalous.
He is the world's sexiest man, apparently, right?
With that, Brady takes ring 7. How many more do we think we see Mr. Brady at?
He's got, what, 3 more fingers, right?
Yeah. Do we see him signing with Tampa again? Do we see him maybe going back to New England? Do we see maybe him going West Coast?
Nah, man. I think he's staying in Tampa. I think that's where he's going to finish. And honestly, I think they're going to have to drag his dead corpse off the field before he retires. Because he showed no sign of slowing up.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little underwhelming. This is probably the most underwhelming Super Bowl since the Seahawks blew out the Broncos a few years ago. Mm-hmm. What was that, like a 48-3 game or something like that? And this one was just a complete, demolisher. The Bucs walked all over the Chiefs. But, the Chiefs' future is still bright. I'm sure we'll see him again in the Super Bowl at some point. But with that, I'll give this like a 6 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I was expecting a lot more. It just fell short for me. I'm happy Tom Brady won. Just see and confirm that he's the GOAT, so that was cool. And honestly, I loved seeing that Patrick Mahomes is not worth half a bill. Let's go Niners next year. We're coming.
I'm going to give this Super Bowl a 9 out of 10. And you know why? Because my Washington football team only lost by 8 points to the Super Bowl champs with a backup quarterback.
Congratulations.
Taylor Heineke looked better than Patrick Mahomes. DC is coming, baby. We are going to be Super Bowl champs within the next 2 years. It is happening. And I will also say the highlight for me this whole weekend with the NFL is the fact that Chase Young got Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Alex Smith got Comeback Player of the Year. Suck it, Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know who gave you that one single vote. You do not deserve it. Alex Smith had 17 surgeries. And honestly, they said he was possibly going to die. He deserves this shit.
Guy. He's one of our own, San Diego's own. So
hell yeah, dude. So big ups to Alex Smith. The guy is absolute warrior. He might retire. We don't know yet, but props to him.
All right, guys, like, subscribe. Let us know what you guys thought about the Super Bowl. Let's get a conversation going.
Yeah, Tampa, take care of yourselves. Don't become Raccoon City out there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, they can't be as bad as the Philly fans that were eating the horse shit.
Oh shit! It's always sunny in Philadelphia. Now you heard, nerds. Join us next time.